And Duke, a couple of programs who have national titles to their name. Syracuse winning back in 2022. We are underway. First meeting since 2023 between Duke and Syracuse. The Orange early on asserting themselves, extending this press forward.
And we can see right out of the gate, both of these teams are going to go at it. As we mentioned, there's been a scoring drought. I expect them to play at an accelerated pace, but not rushed. You know, there's a difference, but both of them will be intentional in their attack tonight and trying to execute.
Duke unbeaten on the season, 2-0-3. We touched on it in the open. That prolonged road run, 3 straight road matches for the Blue Devils, all 3 requiring second half comebacks to pick up a draw, but some dramatic finishes. Either way, John Kerr, happy with this team, was able to at least pull out some sort of result.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are big results, and we spoke quite about this leading into the season with Coach Kerr. With the changing landscape of the ACC, the scheduling aspect becomes more and more difficult. So, you know, and historically you haven't had these 3-week breaks away from home, but you know, playing multiple West Coast teams, traveling up to Georgetown, it adds up. But yeah, in each of those games, late goals to tie it up, escaping throws to the point on the road against some very quality opponents. So a good stretch for these Blue Devils.
And as you see, Duke hasn't had the most efficient attack in the first half of matches. They haven't scored in the first half since the 7th minute of its last home match, which was against UC San Diego.
And that's really been an attribute of these Duke teams, at least the last couple of seasons. Last year, they punished teams in the second half and scored the majority of their goals. So they are a group that seems to get stronger throughout the game. A lot of that, as Coach McIntyre pointed out to us, just the depth overall of this Duke team, and they seem to just replenish in waves as they come on.
And it's also a deep and veteran squad, 16 grad students or seniors for John Kerr.
And kind of the antithesis of this Syracuse team. You know, Coach McIntyre talked about throwing them in the deep end last year with a lot of these freshmen. They've got 15 out of their 25 are underclassmen. So you've got kind of the tell of 2 programs in different states in terms of tenure of guys.
8 freshmen for Syracuse. A good chunk of them will see playing time tonight. This is lifted by Kerr. Ortega, space for service. Ortega pops it central. Duke looking for a whistle, headed out of the area. Volleyed right back where it came from. And that is just wide. Some of the fans here thought that was in the back of the net, bounced off the fence.
Well, that was Zamora, and we spoke about the Italian combo being a revelation. You know, he's a true freshman, wasn't necessarily pegged to start, has come in and has seized that spot, whether it be one of the center backs in a 3-back formation. Today he's playing out on the right, but he is not afraid to get up and get involved in the attack, as we see from that shot.
Well, Cedric, we have our first video review of the night. Kyle Johnston stopping things. He's taking a look. Duke did take objection to that last moment in the area.
This will be interesting. I want to see what they're looking at. You would think typically, I mean, we can tell easily if it goes in the back of the net or not, so you would think maybe there was a deflection they're reviewing.
You see Tomas Hutt patiently waiting. Ian McIntyre getting an explanation from some of our referees. Let's take a look here.
So we look at this again. We see Ortega with the great ball across. Rakic trying to get in. Now, I assume Duke is asking for the foul there and potential PK. And then we see Zamora step up and get the long range shot. So that explains what's being reviewed. We can see Coach Kerr. It's a little too early in the game for him to be up yelling, but he's but definitely a little dismayed of how is that not a penalty. Now, I think that, honestly, at first glance, watching it real time could go either way. It happened pretty quickly. It wasn't a clear-cut penalty, in my opinion. Looks like the penalty has been awarded.
No penalty kick, simply a goal kick.
Opposite, actually. No foul at all.
So Tomas Hutt will set it. Second-year starter.
That was not a point to the spot. That was a point to the goal kick.
Two very similar hand motions, though. I can totally understand where you're coming from. Throwing it away for the Orange, who entered today at 2-3-2 on this season, winless in 3 straight. Coming off of a really heartbreaking 3-2 loss at Stanford. Had a late lead in the 75th minute, 2-1 against one of the best teams in the nation, but could not hang on.
I mean, next to you throw Wake Forest and NC State in that conversation. Stanford's playing as good as ball as anyone in the country right now. hence why they're ranked second. And that was and Coach McIntyre was very honest that they're not quite there in their journey as a team where they have the expectation of closing those games out, but was very pleased with the progress to put them in that position, especially so late in that game.
2 goals scored. That was the most that Syracuse scored in a match all season. He said his team, as you touched on, has to learn how to finish out these matches. Such a young bunch. A chance to take on another one of the nation's premier sides tonight.
One thing, and this will be a key point for Syracuse, and they did it very well in the Stanford game, they stay very compact. As we can see, when they have the ball in their offensive third, all of their players will be in their half. They like to keep the game preferably in a 20 to 30-yard space. Important to that, when you lose it, you can win it back typically easily. And against a Duke team like this that is so dangerous in the counterattack, it eliminates the spaces and does not allow Duke to get expansive on the wing where they specialize.
So how can Duke exploit what Syracuse will present them with tonight?
Well, quick passes, open it up. Don't be afraid to go back and knock it around. You basically want to pull them out, which is their tendency, and then find space to get around them, or channels in between. So a lot of off-the-ball movement will be imperative for these Blue Devils. And they have to win the second balls. Syracuse specializes in repress opportunities when they lose it. So Duke needs to definitely have the advantage in winning second balls tonight.
Free kick on the way for Ernest Mensah Jr. You see Alexander Vukovic culprit in that last foul that's lifted ahead, and Zamora forced to come off his line.
We will call Vukovic's name a lot tonight. Typically, if there's a foul to be called, he's somewhere involved. He's an old school center back. He defends his position very well and is not afraid of the contact.
Whistle as Rakaj hits the deck. Slow to his feet. It's a Duke side that, once again, without Ulfur Bjornsson, at least in the starting 11, one of the premier players in the nation, it is a lot to replace that void. Duke throwing some young players out there to try to do so, though.
Well, void to say the least. We're talking about the #1 ranked player in the country and favorite for the Matt Herman coming into this season, all ACC, all everything preseason. So very unfortunate, to see the injury. But yeah, that's a lot to replace. Now, it's been a replacement by committee. We've seen a few guys playing up top. Rack has done a good job with his chances. But Max Simpson is also a guy mostly in the midfield that stepped up for these Blue Devil team.
Omeze into the area. Omeze sends it wide. Was there a deflection? There was not, and it's a goal kick, but we see the quality of Chimere Omeze on full display early.
Well, yeah, just from a 1v1 perspective, he just basically flew through that Blue Devil defense. So you can already see Blue Devils are going to have to be very careful with him in offensive opportunities up there.
He scored last match, his first goal of the season, a ACC preseason watch list honoree after an all-freshman team selection last year in the conference.
And he's a very direct player.
Oh, that is a lovely tap ahead. It's Ortega!
What a beautiful goal, John. We mentioned Max Simpson with the beautiful feed through the Jose Ortega. Stayed on side, played the ball well, hit it perfectly in the corner where no one was going to save it. That is a great opening goal for these Blue Devils.
It's his first of the season, and Jose Ortega gives Duke an early edge, though they may look at this.
Looks like it's going to be reviewed. Ortega, a bit of a Swiss Army knife. He spent some time in the back this season. He's been out on the wing. We see him starting on the wing today, but not afraid to overlap and get underneath and put himself in position to score.
So Kyle Johnston is taking a look at the replay monitor. He was very close to that last defender. He made that run.
Well, we see the Syracuse team pulling each other together, and that was definitely a breakdown in defense as wide open as Ortega was. Slides underneath. It looks to me, obviously I don't have the best angle from up here. Looks like he held his run, and he put it in the only place he could to assure that went in. Great goal from Ortega.
Ortega, a guy who comes from a soccer family. His grandfather played for the Guatemalan national team. Dad played at Georgetown. Sister played at Northeastern. He's a footballer through and through, and now we await the call from Kyle Johnston.
That was a footballer's goal for sure.
And it is a goal.
And that spot was undeniably pointed at the center spot.
No question about it. And Duke with the early edge. Well, Duke had not scored a first-half goal since the 7th minute of that UC San Diego match, as you see, and they get an early one to go tonight.
And to get it within 10 minutes, 7 minutes into this match, that is exactly how these Blue Devils wanted to start. As we can already see, we will see them ratchet up the pressure even more to try to get another one as quickly as possible. They want to prove to themselves they're still the same offensive juggernaut they had been.
7th minute goal by Jose Ortega, the difference thus far.
Well, even more important that the diversity of scoring opportunities. You know, we know who the leaders are. We've seen some changes in the lineup tonight, specifically the Italian combo not starting. So to get that from Ortega that early and knowing you still have that on the bench to come in, it's a very powerful position of leverage to be in.
Ortega back in the starting 11 today after not starting against Cal last time out. He scored 2 goals last year. He has his first of 2025 tonight. Rakaj battles for it, couldn't stay on it. Haven't seen much Syracuse possession in the attacking half thus far. Here's Broderic, dispossessed. A surge from Trevor Burns, who had an assist on that goal, and Burns bumped down from behind.
Well-deserved professional foul to slow down the Duke counter. Sending a little message to his teammates as well. We were a little too soft in that last goal. We have to close these runs down quicker and not give Duke the space to attack.
It was Kelvin DaCosta who laid that last challenge.
Speaking of diversity of scoring, DaCosta, one of, I believe, 4 Syracuse Orange men with 1 goal in the season, tied for the lead in points.
Nobody on Syracuse has multiple goal contributions this year. That is what Ian McIntyre told us. He said, look, we don't have a Holland, we don't have a Messi. It will be scoring by committee this season.
Which the later you get in the season, that's a great position to be in. You know, if it's all coming from one place, it's usually a problem if something happens. So, you know, it may have not worked out the best for them thus far. Now, one thing to mention, they are undefeated away from home in away games. So they have had lots of success on the road, not so much at home this season.
2-0 on the road, 0-3-2 at home. Normally the inverse, of course, but Syracuse finding success outside of Syracuse, New York. This is actually the Orange 4th match against an undefeated team this season. UConn, New Haven, Duquesne, the prior matchups. Lost against Duquesne, and UConn drew against New Haven, which is one of the newest Division I squads. Today, a major test against Duke. Here's Broderic. Meze, his feed broken up.
Drew Kerr tried to play Rakic to feet there. Just spun out to go over the top. We'll get that better next time. Duke isn't playing incredibly direct right now. It's 1-2 touches, a couple of passes, and they are trying to find something up front. They want to get behind Syracuse's back line. You know, that's especially with them playing such a high line and closing so quickly. As we saw in the goal-scoring opportunity, those quick runs and plays through the channel is how you defeat a team playing that style.
Exactly how Duke was able to capitalize on that Ortega goal. Suber in the area, his first start of the season. Julius Suber, who made his season debut last match. This rolled ahead, Syracuse, something promising, though not the best hit. And it is simply a goal kick for Eric Demora.
Syracuse has not had much possession, but the quality of possession you can see. They train a lot in tight spaces, a lot of small ball. When they do win it, they can get into the attack extremely quickly. We've seen two shots already.
Right, Nutornucci, that last shot. Back in the starting 11 after coming on as a sub last match. As you see, both teams even in shots so far, though. Duke with the edge on that 7th minute breakthrough by Jose Ortega. Throw for the Orange. Looking for that leveler, seeking ACC win #1 and also a first ACC road win since October of 2023. They did so just down Tobacco Road at UNC. Cito, that little saunter forward from the center back, one of the nation's premier players.
He is, and came into the season a little bit injured and has worked his way back into form. But that is where he specializes. Whether in a 3-back or 4-back, he has the ability to step up and join the midfield and break a line himself, helping the team get an offensive possession.
Here's Drew Kerr. Burns rolls it through, broken up well. You can see the idea with Rakic making that run in behind.
Rakic is doing a great job with off-the-ball movement. He's had a couple of chances now. We saw it obviously executed extremely well by Ortega, but it's the same movement.
Here is Rakic, who sends it towards Cameron Indoor Stadium.
You might find that one on the football field tomorrow.
Big game, NC State coming to town to take on the Blue Devils. Throw in from Preston Zabinko, the freshman who is the only Duke freshman who started every match this season. What's impressed you about what he's brought to the squad this year?
Just his composure. He's playing above his years. He's ready for the opportunity, and speaking with the coaching staff, it was evident from day one, the first day of preseason. And again, he wasn't a kid that necessarily was coming in with a starting spot guaranteed. Everyone has to earn it, but he definitely earned it and exuded confidence to his teammates to step into a back line with a lot of tenure and pedigree.
Speaking with John Kerr earlier in the week, he said the big question mark he had about this team was about that back line, having to replace, if you include the keeper, 4 of 5 guys at the back. They've been solid defensively thus far. Broderic, his feet broken up. Brought in by Simpson, the freshman, who lays it ahead. Ortega, who has 1 goal already, is cross blocked. And a throw on the way. Actually did take a deflection off of Ortega.
Well, everyone for Duke's trying to get involved offensively. That was Vukovic, center back, leading parts of that attack, and was going to be the outlet in front of the goal. So definitely an intentionality about making sure they get numbers up in possession as quickly as possible. They want to shrink the field. They know how Syracuse plays. We see it from the Duke team now when they're offensive possession, not a single player in their half.
Long toss from Mensah. Vukovic skies it away. And which side of the corner flag was it? It will be a throw as deep as Syracuse can possibly be inside its own part of the park. Precarious situation for Ernest Mensah Jr. The transfer from Xavier was an all Big East player for the Musketeers. Kerr. His volley broken up. Kenan Hott angles it wide for Suber, and Suber can't quite get there.
Kenny Hott's another guy's name we'll see quite a bit. We're seeing it on the stat sheet this year with him leading the team in points as well as the co-leading goals, but he's leading in a different way. He's had a certain level of aggressiveness about him this year in terms of, 1, defending his teammates, but 2, just really putting his mark on a match. He knows his time is limited and wants to make his mark on this program and has ambitions and most certainly is qualified to play at the next level.
The senior from Lincroft, New Jersey, more goal contributions this season than he had in the entirety of his college career entering this year, 56 appearances.
And sometimes, especially we can think of some guys recently that played for Duke in that position. Peter Stroud's a guy that comes to mind a couple of years ago. That doesn't always show on the stat sheet. And this year is translating, but Kenny Hott has been quite a player for this program for some time now.
Here's Burns. Broderic claimed that first ball. Omeze on the second. And Omeze wins the whistle.
Love to see that from Rakic, checking back when the guy leading the offense is checking back and helping you out defensively. From a team perspective, your team pressure creates offensive opportunities, but when you see it from the front guys helping out, it invigorates the entire team.
How about a freshman having the wherewithal to do that as well?
Yeah, and he's learning from one of the best. Bjornsson, Wolfie, as affectionately called around here, has earned that reputation and that nickname. I mean, he is a terror on checking back and defending to help his teammates.
Whistle goes against Nathan Scott of Syracuse. A couple of players down. Michael Lacquat, some pain for the Orange. And it's Vukovic for Duke. And we will have a stoppage as those two get tended to. Vukovic rising to his feet.
Vukovic does not shy away from the contact.
John Kerr's reserves getting set.
Also a chance for both teams to get a little hydration break. It is unseasonably warm this evening for mid-September in Durham. Just a run a play contact foul. Both guys going for the ball. Vukovic holding his position. Two big boys bumping with each other.
Good to see those two back on their feet. Michael Lacquat, a guy who has provided some chances this season for Syracuse. 4th in the ACC in shots per match. Still has not scored, and Ian McIntyre said he's one of those guys who will be the first to tell you, yeah, I probably should have a couple at this point of the year.
Well, one attribute of this team in general, Coach McIntyre described them as a very honest group. But specifically, you know, he mentioned that the former Lindsey Wilson transfer just really being the heartbeat of this team in a lot of ways. Just one of those unsung guys that may not lead vocally, but leads through his play, and we can see it there. Just the way he approaches the game.
You mentioned former Lindsey Wilson player, following in the footsteps of former Syracuse All-American Nathan Opoku, who went from Lindsey Wilson to one semester at Cuse, then signed by Leicester City, now currently playing in the EFL League 2 with Newport County. But if Aqua can be a fraction of the player that Opoku was for the Orange, they have something special.
Yeah, and even to be spoken about in that conversation is an incredible compliment. And Coach McIntyre was incredibly complimentary of him.
This team last year with 6 assists now has had an opportunity to add some goals. We'll see if he can do so today. And Duke wins the whistle just inside the midline.
Macedo stepping in again, which he does so well.
There was the aforementioned Macedo today, making his 59th career start in 60 career appearances. Day one key piece of this team. Here's Suber. Oh, that is lovely from Suber. Julius Suber, sensational Suber! Wins it back and takes a spill.
That was an interesting run by Suber. Every time I thought he was going down, he'd win another 1v1 battle, and he nearly got to goal. But you see a glimpse of the explosiveness, his ability and creativity to win 1v1 battles in space. He's had a few injuries as well, really working him away. As you mentioned, first start of the season was last game. He continues making effective plays like that. He will earn more time for this team.
Suber, the sophomore from Washington, 42 minutes last match as a sub. This is his first start. Change for Syracuse as Gavin Wigg just made his way on, one of 2 Orange who played for that 2022 National Championship squad still remaining. Jonah Leibold, the other one.
And, you know, their starting lineup, as we know, has been in flux, some due to injury and some just rotation of players. But one thing Coach McIntyre did stress is this game we expect to have the most contribution we've had all season from our guys from that championship team. There
is Gavin Wigg, who returns after missing the entirety of last season with an injury. Now in his 6th year of college soccer after 2 at Western Michigan, now 4 at Syracuse. It was Wigg on that last touch. Lofted ball for Rakaj. The freshman gets there. Ortega finds Burns. Rakaj. It's Ortega. Couldn't sneak it through that back line. And rolled away for a throw.
And it's hard to speak of this Duke midfield. We mentioned Kenny Hott, but Trevor Burns, you know, former Georgetown transfer, has been fantastic this year. We saw the late game tying goal a couple of games ago, but just his movement, he's been a true box-to-box complement in that midfield. He's been great defending his position, but also has led a bunch of the attack for the Blue Devils this season.
They're throwing away for Duke. You mentioned Burns. His dad, Mike, longtime U.S. men's national team player, actually played with John Kerr in the '95 Copa America with Team USA. They finished 4th. They beat Argentina, a squad that featured Claudio Reyna, Greg Berhalter, Alexi Lalas, John Harkes. Quite the team back in '95.
Yeah, it was a very good group.
Long toss, headed away. Lifted back towards Suber, couldn't bring it down. And it's rolled wide by Cameron Aceto.
Another decent opportunity for these Blue Devils. One thing Syracuse will want to improve is they don't want to give Duke multiple chances in the box. That should be a one-and-done situation where they're getting the clearance. Duke had 2 or 3 chances, starting with Suber, and then several others had a chance to get on that.
Vukovic claims that first ball. Burns lifts it ahead. Rakaj gives chase. Hutch skies it away. Good step from Wig. And that was over the touchline, thrown it away for the Blue Devils. You see Christian Fortier, who scored last match in his first start of the season. Product of the Toronto FC Academy.
This is quite the melting pot of guys. You mentioned this, based on proximity, of course, several Canadians, but they've got guys from all over the world. You know, this is a pretty diverse and balanced team.
They have 7 players from Canada. And Syracuse has a storied history of guys from north of the border. You think of Tajon Buchanan, now plays with Villarreal in La Liga and the Canadian national team. So a lot of success recruiting just north of Syracuse, New York. There is another one of those Canadian guys, Omeze, who played for Canada in the U17 World Cup a couple of years back. Midway through this first 45, Duke, the 7th minute goal by Jose Ortega, the difference thus far. This match kicking off a 6-match homestand for the Blue Devils. Both teams searching for that first conference win of the season and their second try. Meanwhile, Syracuse hunting for its first win over Duke since 2015, has lost the last 4 matches between these two.
John, I'd say last 5 minutes or so, the pace of this game has noticeably slowed just a little bit in possession. Both teams attempting to take a little longer to build versus the frenetic, counterattack pace we saw early on.
Does that slow down pace favor one of these teams over the other?
I think it honestly favors Syracuse. They like to shrink the field. They want to keep it compact. They want to pin this Duke team as deep as possible, as we see right now, how compact this field is, whereas Duke wants to open it up. They want to utilize they're very dynamic, and they can get expansive and get guys in behind, and they need to spread the field to do that effectively.
Long toss from Gavin Wig. Vukovic heads away. Ortega clears. Angling ball towards Leibold. And the flag is raised. Offside the call.
Offside Syracuse.
There is Joel Leibold, who returns after missing the majority of last season. He started last match, which was his first start in 358 days. A guy who has persevered through multiple injuries in his career. But he was an instrumental piece of that 22 championship run. 5 goals, scored the game winner in the 3rd round, so they are elated to have him back and healthy.
Well, absolutely, had an unbelievable year. I believe 10 assists that year as well. So he's definitely one of those guys that brings the pedigree, and we talked about on their journey of development, being ready to close out those games against big teams. He's a guy that will help them get there.
Drew Kerr, acres of space to carry. Crafty distributor leaves it central. Ortega. Burns. Zabinko. Stays with Duke.
We see how much freedom Zabinko has as the freshman, playing the true right back position today. I mean, he's up on the 18, and Duke will do that. If they have an overload on one side, we'll push, especially in the 4-back formation, we'll push that outside winger as high as possible to try to create an advantage.
Burkaj wins the corner. This is the first corner kick of the match for either side. As you see Preston Zabinko, only Duke freshman who has started every match this season, as Drew Kerr makes his way to the corner flag.
Taking the corner kick for the Blue Devils is number 10, Drew Kerr.
Drew Kerr, lefty in-swinger, usually hits these to the right at the back of the 6. We've got all the big center backs up, ready to attack this one.
Duke has had set-piece success this season. Ball in from Kerr. Vukovic in the area. And now we go to the opposite corner flag.
That's right where they wanted it. And no disguise what Duke is going to do when Drew Kerr throws up those 2 hands. He's going far post. He rarely throws up one, but that would be near post.
Taking the corner kick for the Blue Devils is number 23.
Kenan Hott will take it from this near flag.
Kenny Hott usually plays these a little bit more direct and driven, but to the same position. So expect this one more in the center of the 6.
Ball in from Hott towards that back stick, and it sails over Zabinko for a goal kick.
Again, in terms of execution, those are 2 good opportunities. Whenever you have the set pieces, you know, you train these at the end of every training session, especially corners. So that's not what you want to see. You know, two obviously, good job earning the second one, but at least want to have an opportunity there.
It's a Duke team that isn't frequently in that corner kick part of the park. Second fewest corners per match in the ACC. They get a couple ones in quick succession right there as Suber goes down, and he is called for the whistle on Christian Fortier.
Looks like we have a lot of firepower about to check in for these Blue Devils right now.
Second ball stays with the Orange. This is blasted wide. One of the first shots we've seen in quite some time from Syracuse, and it's a goal kick for Zamora. And here we go, 5 changes coming on for Duke. Arlotti, Bull-Jorgensen, D'Ambrosio, and also heading on is Ulfur Bjornsson, his first appearance since August 24th, the #1 player in the nation per Top Drawer Soccer in the preseason. This is a massive return for the Blue Devils.
Well, you can also tell this team has been away from home for a while, because I don't think the home crowd has picked up on it yet. But yes, these are his first minutes since, I believe, August 24th, 25th. Yes. Against UC San Diego, which didn't look like, you know, I was on that game. It didn't look like a major injury at the time, but quite the ankle injury is our understanding. So great thing to see him out here and this early in the match. Let's see if he can insert himself right away, and he immediately changes this game in terms of what Syracuse has to focus on. They have to change their defensive marking, and that he cannot be left open. He has to be marked the entire time, as he can not only finish anything but also assist his teammates. So
Vukovic and Tornucci going at it along the byline.
Vukovic did a good job kind of with his body. Looks like that ball could have touched a few different surfaces, but
Bjornsson couldn't claim the header, but again, this is a guy who is one of the premier players in America. 13 goals a season ago. First appearance in about a month. And here he is, his first touchback. Bjornsson, that feed broken up.
And his first instinct was try to get one of his teammates in, trying to play D'Ambrosio through.
And Hott twisted down. Free kick on the way for Duke. And a yellow card comes out. It's our first booking of the match, and it goes against Christian Fortier.
Another message foul, making sure they're not giving Duke any space. After that first goal, I've definitely seen a response from the Syracuse defense. They've closed space quicker. We've seen the physical contact. They're definitely sending a message that we're not going to give you any time and space to build against us.
Drew Kerr and Kenan Hott stand over it.
From this angle, this has Drew Kerr written all over it with his left foot, bending it in. Led the ACC in assists last season. Plays a beautiful ball.
Had 10 assists last year, 2 in 2025. Ball in from Kerr. It's a lovely ball, and it's nearly an own goal.
That ball was placed so perfectly, someone was going to head it in.
Right.
And Syracuse nearly did it themselves. But just the perfect ball where you want this right between the PK and the 6. Camasito as well as Zabinko in there. And honestly, great defensive play to clear that out. A little close to goal, but had that not been cleared out, that is nearly a guaranteed goal, you would think.
And here he is again, this time from the corner flag.
Far post once again.
Ball in from Kerr, twisting ball, hauled in by Hutt. Third corner of this first half for Duke. Again, a team that is second to last in the ACC in corners per match. Good step from Kerr. There's Ian McIntyre, tied with Dean Fody for the most wins in program history, and he'll dig into his bench a bit. Carlos Zambrano heads on. Quentin Christie heads on. You see Jonah Leibold make his way off the pitch. Omeze as well. And there's Landon Darko, another change for the Orange. Freshman who made his first collegiate start last match.
Syracuse, number 8, Quentin Christie. Number 10, Carlos Zambrano. Number 20, Tim Noding. Number 21, Landon Darko. And number 24, Sakil Main.
Here's Zabinko. Hard challenge, but it's a clean one. Noding lays it ahead, gives it away. Powered long by Vukovic. And out of the reach of Bjornsson. So Bjornsson hasn't played in a month. What are the expectations for a guy like that who hasn't played? What do you want to see from him tonight?
I want to see him not press too much. You know, not try to come out and be the #1 player in the country out of the gate. You know, obviously, it'll take him a bit to warm back into form, but usually just focus on the first pass. You know, first tackle, first assist, then get that first goal. But just work your way up, win your personal battles, and do what you do best. And what he does best is his off-the-ball movement. He can play with his back to goal. He's a great hold-up 9. He can also run at players. We saw his first instinct the first time he won it was try to get his teammates involved. It won't take Wolfie long to get back in form.
Zambrano lays it off. Duke struggling to clear. Well, this will help the cause. Free kick out of the way for the Blue Devils. Vukovic, so physical. I think we've seen him down quite a bit with a lot of those challenges that he's been involved in.
I think this is the 4th time we've seen him on the ground involved in some physical contact, but that is his game. You know, he was obviously very effective at Marshall. Was drafted after last season. He's an old school center back. Defends his position very well. Either ball or man. Both aren't getting by him, but he's getting at least one.
It's been a winding journey for him. He's from Nova Pazova, Serbia. Came to the U.S. to play at junior college LSU Eunice. Then spent 2 years at UC Riverside, 1 season at Marshall, and now at Duke after, as he said, getting drafted by Real Salt Lake in last year's Super Draft.
He's another guy that's very focused. You know, he's a very mature guy. You know, got the chance to know him pretty well in the summer USL circuit this summer, but has clear goals, wants to maximize his Duke experience, understands that this is the best collective group he's played with collegiately, and he wants to maximize every minute.
Kerr searching for Vold. It's down to the Orange, hunting for that leveler. Zambrano wins a whistle. Ernest Mensah will restart things for Syracuse. Holman. Angling ball for Mensah. Mensah marked by Kerr, who was moved to left back this season. Now defending.
Drew Kerr's done a great job at left back, as you mentioned. You know, spent most of last year as a right midfielder, where he again led the ACC in assists. So very versatile player. You know, he's a lefty and has worked well in inverted positions, but he's done a tremendous job at left back. He's another guy drafted by Columbus, decided to come back, maximize his senior year, knows the opportunity he has and the level of team this is.
And it's the final year of a Kerr playing at Duke. His brother Cam played for the Blue Devils. Obviously, John Kerr, his father, the head coach, Duke legend as a player and as a coach. Looking to go out with a big senior season. There's John Kerr.
Special year for father and son. Coach McIntyre did ask us if there were any other
yes.
Kerr children he was unaware of that may be spawning and joining this program anytime soon. Had a chance to coach Drew as well as his brother Cam and gotten quite close to both of them. Great young men and great competitors.
And both impressive careers here in Durham. Drew hoping to end things on a high note. Here is the aforementioned, check that was Vold. Launched ahead, Zambrano gives chase to it. Zambrano brings it down, Carlos Zambrano rolls, and that is routine for Eric Demora. It is the first shot on goal of the match for Syracuse.
It is, and that was a great effort. I mean, that was he brought that down in space. You know, with Zambrano guarding him pretty closely, and was able to get an effective shot off. Not a lot of power on that, but yes, first shot on goal. It was an effective one.
That's off of Kyle Johnston. We will restart with a drop ball. He apologizes. Final minutes of this first 45. You said it earlier, Cedric. What a beautiful night. It is unseasonably warm. I'll take it for now. This is perfect soccer weather.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure Syracuse, knowing what their weather will look like a little later in the season, I'm sure they don't mind coming down south for a couple games.
Arlotti. Syracuse will host Colgate on Tuesday, then they'll head out west to Cal. But after that, things gonna get chilly up there in Syracuse, New York. Big ball from Demora. Arlotti pops it ahead, and Hot wisely off his line.
And Arlotti, who leads the team in assists, had a real opportunity there, just played that ball a little too hard. But I think that what to point out in that play was Wolfie winning the header. You know, getting involved in little ways, some things that you don't see that may not show on the stat sheet. He is elite at winning those headers, especially off of goal kicks.
Physical striker, his first appearance since August 24th. That is quite the battle. It's Vukovic, who is upended. Down on the turf once again. What a physical player he is.
Yeah, and you know what? I respect the referee for keeping control, yet letting them play. You've got two very physical, dominant players. Both of them are tugging each other's arms. Let it play out until there was a clear foul. But that competition is the spirit of the game.
That's Landon Darko, who he was battling with, who, by the way, does have experience as a referee. The freshman spent some years in the past as a soccer official, so he knows what he can get away with.
Honestly, good experience for any player, I think, to see what the other side looks like. It is not as easy as it seems.
Here is Darko. Just a step behind it as Aceto saves the day. Aceto once more. Zambrano battles with Hott. Hott wins that duel.
It's a great win by Kenny Hott. He doesn't win that. They were off to the races.
Mensah. Arlotti lays it for Vold.
We mentioned the pace slowing for a while. That most certainly hasn't been the case for the last 10 minutes since this last round of subs. This new regime has definitely come in for both teams with a reinvigorated effort to go at each other.
Bjornsson with the pressure that allows for a goal kick to be on the way. We did see some lineup rotation from Duke as we touched on the Italian duo not in the starting 11. And those guys, when you have those two and Bjornsson coming off the bench, there's some major depth for you.
Well, it's almost a mind game. You know, imagine being on the Syracuse side. You prepare for one team, you know how deep they are, but then you see the three most dangerous scorers obviously aren't starting, but then you see them, they're all healthy and they come in. It just reinforces how deep this team is.
Knotted down by Bjornsson, another guy who is a returning starter for this team who came on as a substitute.
And he's a guy that, you know, we didn't even know if he was going to play this evening. But so whenever you get the #1 player in the country back, that is a big contribution to getting this team back on track with the wins.
Mensah. And Bjornsson is whistled.
And Bjornsson does not shy away from the contact either. He's another guy that's going to be involved in a lot of back and forth plays.
Final minutes of this first 45. The 7th minute goal by Jose Ortega, the difference. Bjornsson surges, Holman gets there first. And there's the whistle throw for Syracuse. But how about this test? Garrett Holman, a guy who last year played in just 6 matches, all as a sub. He's a first-year starter. Now he has the responsibility of marking Bjornsson, but this is what the ACC is.
It is, and I was just going to compliment him. That was a great defensive effort. That's a lot of pressure, knowing that guy, as you're hearing those footsteps behind you, played that ball very cleanly and composed. But yes, he's got quite the challenge ahead of him, but that's what this league is.
Holman, the product of the New England Revolution Academy. And Kyle Johnston chatting things over with Thomas Vold. And Vold has been booked. First booking for a Duke player, and it is Vold late in this first half.
Has been assessed to Duke's number 12, Thomas Vold.
Holman will restart things. He's played every minute this season, one of the center backs for the Orange. Now Broderic will put it back into play. The 25-year-old grad student, this is his first year playing college soccer, previously played in the lower divisions of his native Germany, and that trickles out for a goal kick.
Well, the new transfer rules have opened up many opportunities like that. You know,
Yeah.
coming off the COVID years where a lot of these guys had 5-6 years of eligibility. You know, we've seen a handful of these, especially foreign guys that may have started in a different trajectory with coming in. These are grown men out here.
And it also shows the attraction of this U.S. college system. Guys overseas getting an opportunity to come here, get an education. Vukovic again claims that first ball. Bjornsson knocks it ahead. D'Ambrosio races for it. And it trickles out for a Cuse throw. Final 2 minutes of this first half.
It's a great collection of that ball in turn from Bjornsson in there.
And a whistle as the Orange will have a restart. The Syracuse side that is last in the ACC in goals, needing to find an answer. Here's Zambrano. That makes its way all the way through. It's Darko who pops it across towards Noding. And a late corner kick on the way for the Orange, their first of the night.
Well, it just shows how, I mean, that was one ball that nearly made it through the entirety of the Duke defense. I mean, this just shows how this game could change on a dime. And this Duke team, I would not rest on my laurels with one goal.
Ernest Mensah readies from the corner flag. Final minute of this first half.
Ernest Mensah Jr.
Kyle Johnston sorts things out in the area. Ball in from Mensah. Headed away. And here comes Duke looking to counter. Rolled ahead for D'Ambrosio. Good recovery by Syracuse. Still chance for one last build.
And that is a tradition of this Syracuse team, just condensing defensively, always having two behind the ball. Done a great job of that so far. Except for the one opportunity from Ortega.
Not the one shot on goal for Duke in the entire match.
Yeah.
And it found the back of the net. Long ball from Thomas Hutt. And a Duke free kick on the way. This should be the final moment of this first half.
9, 8, 7, 6,
and that's exactly what it will be, though
4, 3,
Hutt is down
2, 1.
as it's sent away. And that will do it for the first 45 minutes. Duke a 1-0 edge through 45. Cedric, your thoughts on what we saw in this first half?
I thought about Blue Devils is the belief, the overall team believe. They have never looked like they're out of a game despite the scoreline, and they truly believe they have the ability to come back. Again, Syracuse, as you mentioned, they have to get one to get this game to even up and continue their momentum as a team.
Final 45 minutes of this ACC showdown. Duke, it's ACC home opener. Both teams searching for conference win number 1. And in the early seconds, it is Jose Ortega with a header on frame. Second shot on goal of the match for Duke. Here's Hutt. Ortega dashes inside. Ortega. Goal kick for Thomas Hutt.
And Ortega just didn't quite hit that one with the right foot service, but he did a good job getting himself open once again.
Thomas Hutt, the second-year starter for the Orange, a captain in his third year for Syracuse. It's been quite the journey for him to get to Syracuse. He was at Army for 2 years before entering the portal. Syracuse actually used up its final goalkeeper scholarship on Jason Smith. Hutt said, you know what, I'm going to join anyway. He joined the program as a walk-on. Now here he is, year 2 as a starter, has carved out a very nice tenure up in New York.
Well, he could be a case study for betting on yourself and confidence in your own abilities. He knew where he wanted to play. He knew he had the ability to be a contributor, and he earned it.
7th in the ACC in goals against average. Hasn't been tested too often this season. Syracuse doesn't allow many shots.
And to your point earlier, you take away the 3 goals scored in the Stanford game, he's given up 3 goals all season.
Right. Strong goalkeeping from him. This lifted ahead for Utranucci. blasted out of the stadium. That's into the trees, and that ball did not come down. I think that ball just got stuck in the tree, Cedric.
There's a couple of gifts out here in the parking lot and trees for the kids who may be looking for straight balls after this match.
If you can climb a tree, you will go home with the soccer ball tonight.
Yes.
Let's see, they're hunting for it.
And we see it right now under close supervision over there.
Beautiful night at Koskinen Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Nutranucci plays it wide, driven in. Demora off the one hop, scoops it.
And even early on, we see more activity from the goalkeepers, both getting involved very early on, a couple of minutes into this match.
And that ball is, it's stuck. I think they're perplexed as to what to do. They need to send somebody up there.
Got more reinforcements coming. I see some little heads running around the corner over there.
Rakaj.
The game within the game, right?
Right. Well, I certainly will not be one to volunteer. I cannot climb trees. So it looks like we have a young fan who is going to give it a go. I hope his parents are over there watching him. This is risky.
Yeah, I think those days have long been gone for me as well, John.
And I think he just gave up on his journey up the tree.
That'll be an interesting sub-storyline for us to watch for the next few minutes.
Perfect night for some soccer here in North Carolina. And now we have about half a dozen young fans. I see throwing a ball up there. That's a good idea, like a baseball or something.
There's some true teamwork and problem solving occurring on the other side of that fence.
I know normally when somebody catches a ball in a match, they have to give it back. I think whoever gets that ball deserves to keep it.
I think so.
And now they're all being ushered back inside the stadium, so that ball will remain up in the tree. Maybe until the leaves fall in the winter, who knows?
Who knows?
They gave it their best. Round of applause for those young fans.
Valiant effort.
Comes a long toss from Wig. Ortega heads it back into the area. And launched away clear.
It's a good clearance from high, but most importantly, they now have a ball over here, throwing the ball up into the tree. So we've got some additional advancements over there.
Well, the question is, will that ball get stuck up there as well?
Could be an expensive night.
Yes.
Those balls are not cheap.
Zambrano got a touch on it. Nutranucci leaves it off. Noting. Zambrano. Scott, bit of a heavy touch. Dispossessed by Burns. And we just received breaking news. Our fantastic producer, Jamie, just let us know the ball has been retrieved, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a surge right near where the ball was just brought down from the tree.
I was looking at that clearance over there, seeing if it was going to go back up in the tree.
Okay, here we go. Let's break this down. The ball is tossed up, one ball goes up, and two come down. There we go.
The best is the reaction from the fans. That is true appreciation.
That is ingenuity. You use a second ball to get the first ball down.
As you said, as long as the second ball doesn't get stuck, it's a brilliant idea.
Long ball from Noting. Certainly some contact. And a whistle as Zabinko goes down.
And there's been, as we've mentioned, quite a bit of contact as we see from the total of 20 fouls at halftime. But referees are letting them play. This game is most certainly being decided on the pitch.
Well, you'd expect nothing less in an ACC duel. Such a competitive conference. 6 ranked teams in the ACC. Not only 6 ranked teams in the ACC, Cedric, but 6 ranked teams from North Carolina in this week's top 25.
Yeah. 6 ranked teams from North Carolina, and the top 3 teams in the country are from the ACC. Pretty impressive.
Stellar conference in such a soccer state as it's lofted ahead by Aceto. Hot, stays on it. Here's Burns.
See Syracuse playing a higher line this half. Much higher line from Syracuse in terms of confrontation. We see them more spread out than we actually have seen them better part of this season. They are going for it.
New Tornucci. Noting, advantage played. It's New Tornucci. Couldn't bring it in. Noting has it, but first, a handball. So let's take a look at the 6 ranked teams in this great state. And it's not just the ACC squads. I mean, Gardner-Webb ranked for the first time in program history, high point of the Big South. UNCG's had a very nice run this last decade. There is some serious depth in this state.
Oh, yeah, this is a soccer hotbed. You and I know that from being here. But tremendous players, you know, both produced from the state as well as attending and playing for universities in the state. And a lot of parity between conferences there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big South with a couple of teams, SoCon with UNCG, of course ACC, you know, year in, year out, going to be amongst the best. Is this as deep as we've ever seen college soccer in the state of North Carolina?
Arguably. I mean, you can look at a few different periods there, but yeah, this is definitely, I'd say, a golden era of soccer in North Carolina.
And here's a look at the ranked ACC teams. Wake Forest, number 1, NC State, number 2, most teams from a single conference. NC State, by the way, entering today at least, hadn't conceded a goal on the season.
They lead the country. They've scored 25.
Right.
25 goal differential, quite impressive. Yeah, I mean, Phillips up top for them is just scoring in bunches. I got quite familiar with him this summer as he was USL 2 National Player of the Year. But State has something good brewing in Raleigh right now.
Yes.
They're playing very good ball.
Hasn't been the most challenging schedule yet, but those tests will come as Kerr bends it in, and it's high pointed by Tomas Hutt. A couple of headers from Vukovic. Tried to get it out of the area.
I imagine Vukovic has a few bruises after.
Yes. Needs a cold tub, ice bath.
I've had a handful of conversations with him post-game, and he looks utterly exhausted. He's one of those guys where there is no question he left everything he had on the pitch that night. This team's going to get everything he has.
The grad student from Serbia has this played ahead. Second ball rolled central for Simpson. Now it's Burns. Sabinko. Ortega works 1v1 on Wig. Ortega dances. Ortega pings but across. Perfectly placed, but Rakaj couldn't bag it.
That was a great ball from Ortega, again functioning well in a 1v1 setting, winning that battle. Rakaj is going to wish he could get that one back. Just didn't quite get centered enough, got contact on it, but that is a tremendous ball. And we see the immediate reaction from Rakaj. He knows the opportunity he had. He had that ball postmarked for the far post, just didn't get enough on it.
He has scored 1 this season, couldn't put home the second.
He has, pretty brilliant one.
Freshman from Norway, getting some run with some injuries up front. And a whistle. Keep things with Syracuse. Here is Rakaj.
And he was instrumental in that opening season win over San Diego, team that eliminated these Blue Devils last year. Him as well as fellow freshman Max Simpson stepped up and led the charge.
Holman plays it long. Tornucci had a touch on it. Holman juts ahead. New Tornucci. That's tapped ahead. Powered across towards New Tornucci and sneaks all the way through to Julius Suber, who surges on the counter.
Suber doing a great job tracking back. That was a very dangerous ball, played right across the heart of the Duke defense. We speak about opportunities and Syracuse needing to score more goals. They simply have to have numbers in position to take advantage of an opportunity like that.
And it was Shaquille Mink who sent that last ball in. Just one shot on goal for the Orange. Came right around halftime. There you see it, 3 shots for Duke on target, just 1 for the Orange. Ortega not on the same page with Rakaj.
We've seen that a couple of times now where Rakaj was continuing that run around and Ortega was looking for, actually similar to the ball that he got underneath and got behind, the quick ball with the overlapping run.
Goal kick on the way for Eric Demora, who hasn't had to do all too much today. You look back to last match though, Cedric, if it wasn't for his heroics, that would have been a loss. That's 6 saves, which was a season high.
Oh, he had a fantastic match, arguably, not even arguably, his best match of the season for sure. Kept them in that game, allowed them to have the ability to have that great comeback to tie it up at the end.
Transfer from Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey, was a standout goalkeeper for the Hawks. Now playing in his first year at Duke.
And had some pretty sizable shoes to fill in terms of replacing all ACC goalkeeper of the year, Russell Spiel.
One of 5 players at the back, keeper, back 4 included, that Duke had to replace from last season. And quickly put back into play as Vukovic rises to his feet. Driven across, and that is a bit of an uncomfortable attempt by Kerr to have to work it out.
I don't think Coach McIntyre appreciated how easily Vukovic went down in that corner. The quickest we've seen him get up off of that bench and race down and have a comment today.
Orange is number 10, Carlos Zambrano.
Carlos Zambrano from the corner flag. Second corner of the night for the Orange. Syracuse crowds Demora on the goal line. Ball in, fisted away by Demora. Noting, we'll watch it trickle out.
Demora has had significantly more activity in the second half than he did in the first. And to that point, Syracuse has had the better run of play the last few minutes. I mean, they're keeping chances and keeping consistent possession, which they could not successfully do in the first half, and their offensive third.
We've seen them in that attacking third a bit more frequently in this half. A side that has struggled on the attack this year, last in the ACC in goals.
Well, they are doing a much better job of bringing pressure, specifically their line of confrontation. They're putting Demora under pressure on the outlets, not giving Duke as much time to build out of the back, essentially trying to use their defensive pressure to create offensive opportunities.
Offside is the call. A team that does have to replace, I should say, its top point getter last year, Gabe Threadgold. Still trying to find that answer up front. One-two for Kerr. Didn't quite get there. And a throw for the Orange. 15 minutes through in this second half of play. ACC home opener for Duke. Unbeaten in 9 straight regular season home matches. Meanwhile, Syracuse searching for its first ACC road win since 2023, winless in its last 5 ACC road matches. Holman heads on. New Tornucci leaves it off. Vukovic using that body of his, and he wins the whistle.
Wins the whistle and hits the ground for the 7th, maybe 8th time this evening.
We need to keep that as a stat, I think, moving forward.
I agree that the Vukic ground stat, but that's what you want from your center back. You know, you want him involved in everything, and you want him willing to give up his body to help the team. He most certainly does that.
Here he is. Pings it along towards Suber.
And generally, he plays a good long ball, especially to the opposite side when one side's overloaded and he's looking for isolation. He's played a few this evening. Some a little bit more finesse could have been desired, but does a great job getting them involved and quick balls over the top.
Alessandro Arlotti making his way towards the 4th official for Duke. We saw a bit of him in the first half. Normally a starter for this team, but came on today as a substitute. Zambrano surges into space. That's driven in, headed away by Zabinko, stays in the area, and cleared away by Acito. Tornucci couldn't get it on frame. Rakaj surges, Rakaj somehow stays on it. Rakaj leaves it central, flag stays down, chip is just high. Max Simpson couldn't finish it off.
I tell you what, I was prepared to say Rakaj should have played that ball a lot earlier to Ortega on the wing, but what an effort keeping that in play. A little bit of a deflection, but that was an amazing ball over to Max Simpson in the space. Good effort from Rakaj to keep that alive. We see the attempt before that from Syracuse. Rakaj again keeping that alive, winning the battle against Holman. Finds Max Simpson streaking through. Honestly, Max Simpson's going to wish he did a little bit better job with that. Good chip to get the opportunity, but he could have put more on that.
Rakaj now moves as a left winger with Alessandro Arlotti moving atop this formation. Julius Suber heading to the bench. Holman. And Rakaj is down.
Rakaj is another guy that gets in. He's I mean, it seems cliche wearing the face mask, but he's not afraid to put his nose into it. I mean, he takes on a lot of contact in each game, and which is a good trait from your target 9 forward. A lot of goals get finished off by just that extra effort.
Physical 6'2" forward out of Norway. One of 3 Norwegian players on this Duke roster. I showed a entertaining video at halftime of some of the other Duke players, the non-Norwegian players, trying to decipher what certain Norwegian phrases mean.
That's been a fertile recruiting pipeline for this Duke program for, I mean, going back a couple of decades now. Some standout players from that area.
Tornucci finds Ming. Zambrano, unsuccessful link up on the 1-2.
Well defended by Zabinko, and again, good composure to build that out of the back.
Scott tried to shuffle through traffic. Tornucci leaves it for Noding. What effort by Vukovic to break things up. And he clears it away for a throw.
Good clearance and touches the ground for the 9th time.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
There's Ian McIntyre, currently tied for the most wins in program history. 141. Can he pick up 142 with a rally tonight? Arlotti leaves it off. Rakaj not on the same page with Ortega.
Well, I think Rakaj tried to make up for the previous play where he had Ortega wide open and tried to force this one a little bit. Great one-touch effort, but again wasn't in the path of play for Ortega this time.
Quickly thrown in, back for Rakaj. Has space, lets it fly. Goal kick on the way. And a change as well. There we go. Young fan brought it in, and a good toss. Back onto the pitch.
For the Orange is number 3.
There's Ernest Mensah heads on for Syracuse.
Now had a few chances for these Blue Devils. We mentioned their second half offensive prowess. It definitely feels like a goal is coming.
Mensah heads on, replaces Kelvin DaCosta. There was a stretch in this half where Syracuse playing a bit more on its front foot, kind of controlling things. Seems like that has flipped a bit towards Duke. What has changed as this second half has progressed?
Well, I know the first thing I noticed is the spacing. First half, Syracuse was very compact. Every time they had offensive possession, every player's over. They're playing within a 23rd-yard space. This game has opened up, and that's a sign of both teams pressing a little. Syracuse going for this equalizer. This Duke team wanted to put some distance and get a second goal, but much more space for each team to play with.
Noting Tornucci stays on it, the number 9 for this team. Brought in by Scott. It's a lovely touch. Tornucci knocks it wide, driven across. Vukovic down for what, the 10th time? And it's a corner.
10th time, but who's counting? That was a phenomenal touch by Scott in there to get them in that attack. Brought that down very cleanly.
Sakil Ming heads to the corner flag. One more look at this last effort.
We see that through ball again and looping ball across. Vukovic does a good job getting down and use the only surface of his body he could, his head.
Ming, the Bermudan international, made 4 appearances in Bermuda's World Cup qualifying efforts during this cycle. He stands over it. In swinger from Ming. Stays in the area. Vukovic nods away, headed back in. Headed out by Zabinko. Still pinballing around. And Hutt will nod it on. And here comes Duke. Arlotti leads the counter. And Arlotti run off of it. It's a last-ditch effort by Wig to save a goal-scoring opportunity.
That was a good effort by Wig. He's had a few of those tonight where that was easily going to be a 2v1 had he not slowed that momentum down. Had Max Simpson streaking down the other side.
Check that 40A able to run in there. Strong defending by him as Noting pops it on. Tornucci steps into space. Tornucci cuts it back. Tornucci rips it.
The Syracuse team is heating up. That was a great 1v1 effort, sidestepping the tackle for Drew Kerr to get a clean shot off. We'll see it again, pulling it back, getting on the right foot. That was a clean strike, open look.
Well, Tornucci did score twice last year against Duke when he played for Grand Canyon University. He's now in his first season at Syracuse. Grand Canyon beat Duke a season ago 3-2, and Tornucci had 2 of them.
That was the season opener or second game, I believe. That
yes.
Was quite the performance from Grand Canyon. They've had some good teams recently.
Hit the transfer portal this offseason, now playing in the ACC.
It's so hard to track players now with the transfer
yes,
portal rules. I see names and recognize them from other universities, and just it is quite a different landscape now.
Both of these teams bringing in some players from the portal this offseason. You have to do it to stay competitive nowadays.
You have to. The game has changed, and you're able to bring in. No longer can you really sit a guy, for.
That's driven in, headed just wide.
Thought that was it.
Bjornsson, who just re-entered, wins a corner.
And that wasn't far off. Get a good service coming in from Drew Kerr over there. Bjornsson gets up, just did not get a clean hit on it, but those are goals he typically scores. Quickly pointing out this should be a corner.
Taking the corner kick for the Blue Devils is number 10, Drew Kerr.
Drew Kerr from the corner flag. This is the 4th corner of the match for Duke. 2 assists on the season for Kerr. Kerr bends it in, popped up by Hutt, and a foul against Duke.
The longer this game stays 1-0 and Syracuse continue to stay in it, the more pressure builds from these Blue Devils, as you mentioned.
Hutt, Bjornsson, one-touch feed just broken up by Holman. Inside of 20 minutes remaining in this one. 9th all-time meeting between these sides. The last time that they played, Cedric, back in 2023, it was an 8-goal affair. A little bit of a different flavor compared to this one. That was a 5-3 win for Duke.
I remember that one was sitting right up here and had a lot of activity that night, a lot of goals to call out. So this has definitely been a different type of match.
Two teams who have been stout defensively this season. They've looked the part tonight. Bjornsson hooks it ahead for Ortega. And Hutt forced to play it out for a throw. Zabinko lofts it in. Bjornsson head in the first ball. Here's Zabinko. Blasts it central over the head of a leaping Simpson. And Kerr can't get there.
Bjornsson was doing a great job of coaching Zabinko over there, telling him throw it in behind me so I can get the flick on. Just didn't quite execute as planned.
Valuable mentorship from the junior towards the freshman who has started every match this season, Zabinko. And it's a Duke team that's full of veterans. 16 seniors and grad students. What can that leadership and experience do for this team this season?
Well, the one thing this team hasn't done is make a deep postseason run. You know, they've had great success in the regular season, led the country in every offensive stat last year, but this type of team built with this much experience is a team that only gets better and has the confidence and experience to succeed in the postseason.
And a bunch of these guys were a part of that team last year that got as high as #2 nationally right before the ACC tournament. Lost early there, lost in round 2 of the NCAA tournament. Was not the way that John Kerr's side wanted to end things, but unbeaten through 5 in 2025. It's been a solid start for his side this year.
Yeah, very good start.
It's brought in by Simpson, dances his way through traffic. Max Simpson, a toe on it once more. It's rolled and saved by Hutt. Bjornsson got down and dirty.
This game may come down to a toe poke. That extra effort, we've seen it a few times with a few different players. Max Simpson, great job staying on that, battling through traffic, winning several 1v1s, winning second balls. Just couldn't quite get to it, and then Wolfie comes in at the last minute trying to get a toe poke.
New Tornucci plays it out, popped across, headed down, noting, turned away. Eric Demora, biggest play he's had to make tonight.
That was a great save, but Demora, great reaction. You see him immediately getting after his back line. Guys, well, they can't have that much time on the ball. They cannot have multiple chances within our box. But Demora, without hesitation, coming out. If he does not come out, this is a goal for sure.
Returning to the game for the Orange, #2, Chinray Omese, and #19.
Couple of changes for Syracuse. It's the preseason ACC watch list honoree Chinray Omese, who heads back on, played 32 minutes in the first half. And another starter, Michael Aqua, re-enters. So 2 starters back in the pitch.
And we see the chess match. You know, this is preparing for the final run. We see Duke with some in-kind substitutions preparing to come in. We saw a more powerful lineup from Duke towards the end of that one. Into the first half, rather. Let's see how we line up now.
Mensah, he is run off of it. Duke will make a change. Nikolai Ronaldo Bull Jorgensen makes his way onto the pitch.
Well, quite the name, and you think of power, you think of this guy. Often if, say, he plays like a bull in a china shop, diverse switch army knife type of guy, can play, has played up top, has played in the midfield, has played in the back for these Blue Devils. But he is a guy that can go out and get you a goal.
And it's a perfect name for a guy who plays soccer in Durham. Nikolai Ronaldo Bull. Durham's the Bull City. It was meant to be that he plays soccer for the Blue Devils.
Almost as if it was predestined.
Yes. Nikolai Ronaldo Bull Jorgensen out of Oslo, Norway. And let's see, is Vukovic going to get checked on? Medical crew making their way on the pitch for Duke. And he looks a bit perplexed as to why the stoppage was called. And Vukovic making his way. Let's see, he'll stay out there, at least for the time being. Now we'll saunter towards the sideline.
Looks like he'll come out briefly to get checked up on, or maybe coming out permanently.
Thomas Volt entering.
Yep. Well, we've discussed him often this evening. If there's one guy who has earned, you know, being a little tired, maybe a little knock right now, he does not shy away from 1v1 battles.
So Vukovic comes off, replaced by Vold. That's big for Syracuse because Vukovic has been the guy who has really hampered this Orange attack.
He has. Now it'd be interesting to see if Duke modifies their formation and goes to more of a true three-back with that change. We'll have to watch it develop.
Final 15 minutes of this one. Lifted away by Nikolai Ronaldo Bjornsson. Oh my! It is Bjornsson who sends it wide. An ambitious effort, but you have to like the confidence that he plays with.
And he can score one just that quickly. Looks like Duke is going to stay in the four-back, bringing Bull, the aforementioned Bull, back to play the other center back for Vuko in his absence.
Arlotti got a head on it, nodded down for New Tornucci. Demora off his line, bobbles it initially, and then cradles it. Arlotti nods it on. Whistle though against Bjornsson. As we wind down, Cedric, what are you looking to see from Duke and Syracuse?
Duke needs to get another goal. Again, the longer this game goes on with a 1-0 lead, you get something fluky can happen, you lose control. So Duke wants to get another one. Syracuse, you're going to keep pushing. If you're Syracuse, you have zero pressure right now. Only opportunity. So they're going to keep pushing, keep getting numbers up, keep finding opportunities, and try to get that fluky opportunity maybe.
Duke free kick will take away precious seconds for the Orange. 29th foul of the match. That's the breakdown. It's been evenly called. That's dangerously rolled right to Vold. Popped across towards Bjornsson off the volley! Welcome back! Ulfur Bjornsson! And Duke leads it 2-0.
Bjornsson started and finished that. He got the initial deflection on the header, stayed in it. He got them into spatial numbers, opened himself up. Great reception. What a one-touch finish. We mentioned him getting back on track. I think Wolfie's back.
Wolfie is back with a vengeance.
And you can see this team feeding off of his energy. They needed that. That's the #1 player in the country coming into this season. They need him to do that for this team. That is a pure, look at that goal. Look at that goal. Hit with precision, right down the middle, but that was not going to be saved. We may be seeing that one on SportsCenter this weekend, John.
I'm with you. That has my vote for top 10. How about the ball by Simpson as well, on a platter?
Great ball. Great ball. Great vision. Wolfie helped win that. They get expansive. We mentioned they're a counter-attack team. Immediately have numbers. Create a 4v2 opportunity. Wolfie finds a space, opens up. Clinical finish.
In a season where the expectations are sky high for Ulfur Bjornsson, he has his first goal, and it comes after missing the last 3 matches due to injury. His first appearance in just shy of a month, and he does that. A missile to make it 2-0.
And not that he was playing with pressure, but that's got to be such a relief for him. Coming in this season with such high expectations, finally to get his first in this type of dramatic fashion at home.
At 13 goals last year, was a Herman Award semifinalist. So much hype around him, deservedly so, entering this year. Gets his first of 2025.
Well, that series was a perfect example of what he brings to his team. You know, we all will see the goal, but we have to go back to how it started. If he doesn't win that header to keep them involved, that goal doesn't happen.
A lot more than just a goal scorer. Well, Cedric, you said it. Duke needs to get a second. It got a second.
That changes the entire game. Now Duke can condense a little bit. You don't have to have as much of a frenetic counterattack pace. Keep more possession. Try to slow this game down, maybe.
Syracuse looking for something to get back into this one. Arlotti pops it ahead. Ortega brings it in. Ortega battles his way, marked by Scott, and he gives it away. Chance to counter for the Orange. Broken up by Kerr. Aqua switches for Leibold.
So with that second goal, now this game is going to be forced to change, and we can see it happening before our eyes. Syracuse has to press. So you're going to see much more space. This is typically when we may see a couple more goals in the next 10 minutes because the space will open up. Advantages are easier to find.
And it's a Syracuse team that normally doesn't do, they're very compact, as we touched on before. They have to open things up now.
Playing from behind at this level, 2 goals down, changes their whole approach to the game.
Ian McIntyre issues instructions. Legendary Cuse coach has to cook up something special for a late match rally. Arlotti, was that over the end line? It was.
And I love that Coach McIntyre is an old school throwback. Still wears the tie to the game, and he's a throwback from a different era.
I'm with you. You don't see coaches do that in any sport nowadays.
Don't see it very often at all, but something he's consistently done.
It's a classy look for the native of England. Kyle Johnston sorting things out. And a free kick awarded to the Orange. Short on time in this one. Team that has only scored 5 goals in ACC on the season. That is last in the ACC. Just 7 shots tonight. The shots hadn't been the issue this season. They're one of the best teams in terms of creating shots. We just haven't seen that tonight.
Haven't seen a plethora of creation, and most certainly not the execution so far.
This could be a moment to change that. Acito battles for it. It is worked away by Vold. Nathan Scott. Mensah turns the corner. Mensah drives it in. Mensah wins a corner.
And we do see Syracuse looking for quick shots now, more so than any other time in the game.
Taking the corner kick for
Ernest
the
Mensah
Orange is number 3, Ernest
send this
Mensah Jr. Entering the game for the
Duke
Blue
makes a
Devils
change.
is number 11,
Leonardo D'Ambrosio makes his way on. He replaces Jose Ortega. And if this is the end of the night for Ortega, what a night it was. Scored his first goal of the season all the way back in the 7th minute. Mensah from the corner flag whips it in. Bjornsson heads. Ball stays in the mixer, and it's scooped up. Here comes Arlotti. But a whistle behind the play, a down Duke player. And it is Drew Kerr.
We see trainer Tara running out, who keeps this team up and at 'em. She's been pretty active in the last few minutes.
Kerr took a forearm to the head, and You see him holding his head. Let's take a look at it.
That's an unfortunate one. Both attempting to play the ball. Don't see anything malicious there, but Kerr did get hit pretty hard whenever it's a head injury, of course. Want to be extra careful. Dr. Brian Lyle out there helping out.
And Drew's dad, John, looks on. Drew on his feet. We certainly send him our best. As the Duke faithful look on. Handful of Syracuse fans in the house as well.
Yeah, you win a national championship, you become a national brand, right? But yeah, they're quite the fan base.
I also thought it was interesting speaking with Ian McIntyre about winning that championship, and then after that it's like, all right, let's do it again. There isn't time for a rebuild. There isn't a lot of patience. As he put it, it's a results-oriented business, so he wants results. This has been not the ideal start for them. If they can't pull off a win, it'll be 4 in a row without a win. Still a long ways to go for the Orange, though, this season. Yeah,
still a ways to go this season, and they've had pockets of very good runs throughout the years. Had very good teams in the mid-2000s, and building up to that championship was an unbelievable year. And you get to that level, then it again is how quickly can we get back? The standard and expectations change completely. You also develop a target on your back. And teams are playing you a little bit differently and different expectations.
3 years removed from that College Cup win. Syracuse searching for that first conference win, as is Duke. Duke a couple minutes away from getting there as Hutt hauls it in.
And we covered just the depth of the ACC. If this scoreline holds, would be only the 3rd match this season won by more than 1 goal.
Oof. Here's Zambrano. That is deflected and popped out by Zabinko. It just shows how deep this conference is, the parity in this conference. And some discussion stays with Syracuse.
And Zambrano hasn't seen success in terms of putting one in the back of the net, but I've been very impressed with him this evening. He's done a great job collecting balls and running this midfield for Syracuse.
Gavin Wigg set to heave this into the area. Wigg's toss, headed away, and a stinging strike from Mensah sails. There's a look at that shot disparity. Duke +6 in terms of shots, also +3 in terms of shots on goal.
And we've seen that margin increase significantly in the second half.
Here is Zambrano. Battles his way on. Zambrano, it's a hard challenge. They play on. He surged from Wigg. Wide for Leibold. Leibold pops it in. Unconvincing clearance. Omeze. Space to serve. Off of Kerr. And another corner coming up for Syracuse. This is the 5th of the night for the Orange.
And this is such a different feeling for this Duke team, having a 2-goal lead now.
What
a lead, you're sweating each of these corners to see anything can happen.
Think about it, it's a Duke team that the last few weeks has been in Syracuse shoes, having to come from behind and rally back. Now it's about hanging on. Here's Mensah. In swinging ball, popped away, stays in front, and it's brought in by Demora. A heart-stopping moment for the Blue Devil faithful.
Demora again, great control of the box. He's another guy that will leave everything out there. But this one bounced around. Demora with the initial save. Kenny Hutt, good job guarding that line just in case. Demora comes back to grab it.
Aqua. Syracuse searching for something. Flag is raised. Check that it was out for a throw. Ortega back in the 7th. Bjornsson in his grand return to the pitch in the 78th. Here's D'Ambrosio, races with Wig, and Wig cuts off his angle. Oh, there's Bjornsson again. He's fired up.
So he brings so many intangibles, but the energy and passion he has for this game and the way he plays is absolutely contagious for his teammates. And that's another facet of his game. Pressing and make it difficult for any keeper to build out. We've seen him create chances and score goals off of just that amount of pressure.
What does it do for the rest of the team when you have a guy of his caliber who still has that high of a work rate?
Well, it's contagious. You know, if your quote-unquote best player is playing that way, working back defensively, giving you everything, then who are you to not give the same effort? So it elevates the level of the entire team.
They are thrilled to have him back after missing the last 3. His impact has been felt tonight, that's for sure. Free kick coming up for Duke. Inside of 4.5 to go. Duke opening up this 6-match homestand as it's lifted ahead and the flag is raised. Arlotti is offside. It's 6 matches at home in a row. That is a prolonged homestand, to say the least. And you consider the fact that Duke is unbeaten in its last 9 regular season home matches. That's a recipe for success, Cedric.
Oh, it's like a cheat code. What did I say? When preparation meets opportunity, things happen.
Yes.
And this team's prepared. They've been on their road stand, and now they're back home where they have a lot of success. So we can expect some good things to happen over the next few weeks in Durham.
Another corner for Syracuse. Meanwhile, the Orange head back home where they have not won this year. 0-3-2 at home compared to 2-0 on the road. They'll welcome Colgate.
Entering the game for the Blue Devils is number 24,
Here comes a change for Duke
Bjornsson.
as Ulfur Bjornsson departs. He's replaced by his fellow native of Iceland, Axel Bjornsson, native of Reykjavik, who has played just 2 matches this season, missed some time with injury, but he's out there.
Well, when we mention, replacement by committee, I mean, Axel's a guy that's typically played in the back most of his career and has seen a lot of time up front this season.
Mensah drives it in. Bjornsson immediately gets his head on it. It's lifted ahead.
And I'd say a smart substitution for sure by Coach Kerr. Bring your Wolfie out, who's coming off injury, get him some rest. He just put one away. And then you bring in another defensive presence, especially on set pieces, that can play up top and give you a little more diversity.
Wolfie finishes his night. 34 minutes played. Had that remarkable goal. 4 shots, 2 on target. Vintage performance in his return to the pitch.
Exactly what you expect from that young man.
Zambrano dances ahead. Zambrano, ball was played first as he goes down. Now it's Acito. Rolls for Bjornsson. Bjornsson leaves it central. Simpson sent it wide. That's the second one that he'll probably want to have back tonight.
Oh, he definitely will want that one back. You got to reward the big guy for the effort over there to get that beautiful ball across. Max Simpson has had a couple he probably will want back. He's had such a great start to the season. Great early ball across, running into that. Oh, he was picking his corner and just missed it.
Young freshman nearly tapped it in. He skied it earlier on the chip, a bit wide in that effort. But a guy who has some impressive experience, 11 appearances in MLS Next Pro with Colorado Rapids 2, as that is crushed towards the football stadium.
And you can see the look on Max Simpson's face. He knows he had a good chance of getting a couple tonight, at least thus far.
That's popped across towards Simpson.
But Simpson, another one of these freshmen who has really stepped up and earned opportunity. And supplanted himself as a fixture in this lineup.
Simpson out of Denver, the Mile High City. You said that he reminds you of a young Colton Pleasance.
He does. Great memory and recall on that one. And we see it even more now with him playing underneath as more of a 10. We saw what Colton did last year, what he did over his career. Just a guy that could create offensive opportunities, but a smaller guy in stature, but definitely didn't back away from challenges. Same thing from Max Simpson.
5 goals and 4 assists last season for Pleasance. Here's Hott.
One of my favorite players in young men.
That is high praise. Nearing the final minute of this match. Duke about 80 seconds away from starting off this season unbeaten through 6 matches.
One minute remaining in the second half.
D'Ambrosio. Well, there's a whistle. It's Axel Bjornsson.
Took a solid shot on the recoil of that ball. He's another young man who's battled some injuries and has really fought back and stayed dedicated to this program.
Bjornsson. Walk it off. It's been quite the journey for him. He had that outstanding freshman season. Missed 2023 with an injury, just 3 appearances last year. This is 3rd appearance of this season. Gives the thumbs up. Looks like he's ready to head back out there. Arlotti plays to the corner flag.
Here's where we see the experience of Arlotti coming in play. Late game, you're up 2 goals, keep it in the corner, don't give up any chances. Doesn't need to be any pageantry to finish this one off.
A veteran guy transferred in from Harvard. Product of the prestigious Monaco Academy. The likes of Kylian Mbappe, Thierry Henry coming out of Monaco.
10.
Final chance here for Syracuse. Zambrano dials went long.
5, 4, 3,
and it's lifted out of play by Preston Zabinko. And for the 6th straight match, Duke picks up a result. The Blue Devils, a 5th consecutive win against the Syracuse Orange. And 19th ranked Duke remains unbeaten and picks